So Bhishma brought Amba, Ambika and Ambalika to the Hastinapur palace. He brought them and brought in front of Satyavati and Vichitravirya and told them, Mother, here are the three beautiful daughters of King of Kashi, Amba, Ambika and Ambalika. I brought them according to the Kshatriya Dharma. A Kshatriya can go and win the woman they want to marry and here get them married to Vichitravirya. Satyavati was very happy. So was Vichitravirya, obviously. But Amba said, wait, please, I have something to tell you before you do anything. What? What do you have to say? Please do say what you want to say. Amba said, O Queen Mother, I have already chosen Shalva, King Shalva, as my husband. So in fact this Sayamvar was just mainly for my sisters. I have already chosen Shalva as my husband. I would have selected him as my husband. And Bhishma thought, oh, that's why Shalva tried so hard to prevent. Amba said, well, I've told you, I have already chosen him as my husband, and now it's up to you. You tell me whether you want to get me married to Vichitravirya, but because I don't think that would be right. Because according to the tradition, if a woman selects a man, even in her mind, the girl belongs to that man. Satyavati said, yes, you are right. You are right, Amba. Vichitravirya also said, no, I cannot marry you. Satyavati said, okay, you please go back to Shalva, and Shalva will no wonder take care of you, and hopefully, and we will make all the arrangements to go back. Bhishma said, yes, I'm sorry, I apologize for bringing you here, and you can go back to Shalva. So he arranged for a nice chariot, gave a lot of escorts, and Amba left. Ambika and Ambalika stayed back, and Amba left the palace. So Amba went on the chariot, went back to Prince Shalva. But Shalva received her very cold reception. Said, Amba, how come you are here? Bhishma took you. Why are you here? Amba said, Shalva, you know I love you. You know that I have chosen you as my husband, and that's why I am back. I'm back to you. Bhishma has returned me with all honors. Shalva was silent. Amba said, why are you not telling me something? Why aren't you speaking up? Aren't you happy that I came back to you? Shalva said, Amba, you are Bhishma's now. I cannot accept you. Amba felt as if the ground has moved away from below her feet. She was shocked. She said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Shalva? I am back to you. You know you love me. I love you. Shalva said, no. Bhishma has won you. He has beaten me in the battle and followed the prince and took you. You are no longer mine. You are Bhishma's. Go back to Bhishma. Amba was hurt, deeply hurt. She moved away. She got back on the chariot and went back to Hastinapur. In Hastinapur, in the meantime, the preparations for the marriage was going on. Amba got down from the chariot, went straight to Bhishma and told him, Bhishma, I am back. Bhishma said, why? Why are you back? You should have been there with Shalva. Amba said, no, you won me. So Shalva didn't want to accept me. So you will have to marry me. Bhishma said, are you out of your mind? You know my promise. I promised that I will never marry. I promised that I'll go through an eternal celibacy. I will renounce any woman in my life. Amba said, I don't care. I don't care. You went to the Sayamvar my father had arranged. You brought me from there. Bhishma said, you know, I brought you for my brother, Vichitravirya. Amba said, no, you brought me, you will have to marry me. Bhishma said, wait, let me talk to Vichitravirya. Let me see if he wants to marry you. So Bhishma went to Vichitravirya and to Satyavati and said, Vichitravirya, why don't you marry her? Vichitravirya said, no, I can't marry her. She is already Shalva's. Amba said, Bhishma, you will have to marry me. I'm not going anywhere. You have to marry me. Bhishma said, no, it's impossible. I cannot marry you. You know my promise. Amba said, then what am I going to do now? Bhishma said, I don't care. Go back. Go back to your parents. Go back to Shalva. Maybe if you convince him well, he will agree. Amba was furious. She was mad. She said, Bhishma, you turned me down like this. I will kill you. I will make sure that I will kill you. You will die from me. Bhishma said, that's impossible. You know I have this boon. Nobody can kill me until I choose to die. Amba said, okay, you may have the boon, but I will someday, I will find a way to kill you. Until then, you wait. You wait for me. And she walked away. Walked away into the forests. There's a big story later on, and we'll talk about that story when we come back again sometime later, much later during the Kurukshetra war. So in the meantime, Vichitravirya got married to Ambika and Ambalika. Spent about 7 or 8 years of blissful married life, but then unfortunately Vichitravirya died. And this caused a huge problem because Vichitravirya didn't leave a heir, didn't leave a son. So how would the Kuru dynasty continue? Satyavati was deeply concerned. What's going to happen to this great dynasty? A son can only perpetuate the dynasty and then the Kuru dynasty, the great Kuru dynasty. So Satyavati was in a huge fix. She first thought of Bhishma. So in those days, as I told you earlier, those days if a king or a Kshatriya couldn't bear a child, then they could get the services of somebody, maybe in the family, or some Brahmin or some sage, and get their services to get a child. So Satyavati thought of that and went to Bhishma and said, Bhishma, the Kuru dynasty is in a big problem. It may die, it may finish. So why don't you break your promise and give the queens Ambika and Ambalika some child, some son, a baby, such that they can continue this dynasty? Bhishma said, Mother, what are you saying? You know my vow. I have vowed to stay celibate all my life and I cannot break that. I gave that vow to my father and before the gods. Satyavati said, Bhishma, you gave that vow for me and I release you of that predicament. Please do this favor for the sake of your dynasty, for the Kuru dynasty. Bhishma said, no, Mother, I cannot do it. It's impossible. You find some other way. Satyavati knew that she couldn't convince Bhishma. So she thought and thought. And then she came up with another idea. Why not call Vyasa? Vyasa, the person, the sage who composed this entire Mahabharata. So you see, Kaushik, that Vyasa comes back again and again, and someplace I read that this entire story is about the progeny of Vyasa. So Satyavati summoned Vyasa. And last time I told you that Vyasa was the son of Satyavati. He was born before Satyavati was married to Shantanu. So Vyasa, a rishi, had magical powers, superhuman powers, appeared right away in front of Satyavati and said, Oh mother, tell me, why did you call me? Satyavati was crying. So, Mother, please don't cry, tell me what's the problem? Tell me what do you want me to do? I'll do whatever you ask me. Your request, your wish is my command. Satyavati said, my son, you know, the Kuru dynasty is in a big problem. It's almost about to die. It's going to finish. Because Vichitravirya didn't leave an heir. He doesn't have a son. So what can we do? Vyasa said, yes, that's a problem indeed. So, what do you suggest? Satyavati said, Vyasa, you have to give these queens your sons. Vyasa said, I'll do it. If you ask me to do it, I'll do it. But do you think your queens will agree? You look at me. You know, Vyasa was very ugly looking, very grotesque, and he was filled with dirt, very filthy. I mean, any woman would just run away from him. Satyavati said, don't worry, I'll make them. I'll make them agree. You just go to your bedroom, and I'm going to send the queen. So Vyasa went to his bedroom, to the palace. Satyavati went to Ambika and said, you know, Ambika, go to Vyasa and he will give you a son. Ambika knew about Vyasa. Typically rishis are very, short-tempered, and already she knew that Vyasa was very ugly looking and very grotesque looking. She was really scared. So since her mother-in-law, pushed her, she went to the bedroom, but she was so scared. She looked at Vyasa and shut her eyes. Later, when Vyasa left the room, she went out and told Satyavati, "Oh mother, I did what you wanted me to do. Ambika will have a son, a very strong and powerful son, but he will be blind because Ambika kept her eyes shut." Satyavati was shocked. She called Ambika and said, Go again. Ambika wouldn't go. So then she sent Ambalika. Said, Ambalika, you go, but don't keep your eyes shut. You go and have a son from Vyasa. Ambalika went in. She was scared too, but she kept her eyes open. But she was so scared that blood drained out of her face. She became pale. Again, Vyasa came out and told Satyavati, Ambalika will have a son too, a strong son, powerful son, but he will be pale and very frail looking. Satyavati was really, really upset because, a blind son cannot be a king. So he tried again. She said, Ambalika, you go again. And this time, don't be pale. In the meantime, a year has passed. Ambika had already given birth to a child, a blind boy, and he was named Dhritarashtra. And Ambalika had a son, a pale-looking, frail-looking boy, and he was named Pandu because of his color of his face. So Dhritarashtra and Pandu were the two sons. So this time, Satyavati again called Vyasa and said, please, you have to give us another son. And told Ambalika, you go again. Ambalika was so scared, this time she didn't go, and she did a trick. She called one of her maids and decorated her and put a lot of nice dress and ornaments and jewels and sent her instead of going herself. So this maid went to the Vyasa's bedroom and treated him with a lot of respect, a lot of care, and she was not afraid of Vyasa. Vyasa was very pleased and told her that you will have a son, a great son, and he will be the most wisest and learned man. And so this maid had a son, and the name of this son was Vidur. Later on, these boys grew up, Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidur. Pandu was very strong, became a great archer and very powerful. Dhritarashtra, although blind, but was very strong and powerful, but he was blind. And Vidur became very learned in all the scriptures. So although Dhritarashtra was the oldest son, since he was blind, he couldn't be the king. Pandu became the king of Hastinapur, and Vidur was appointed the prime minister. And Pandu, although he was frail looking and pale looking, but he was a very good king. He conquered many kingdoms. He expanded the Kaurava kingdom, fought many wars, many countries, and gradually was known to be one of the greatest kings of the Kuru dynasty. So we'll end here today, Kaushik, and maybe next time we'll go ahead with the birth of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Until then, let's conclude this story for this time. Thank you.